what do you think about that proposal? Just offhand before we get into the nitty gritty of it.
I'll be nice first, Corey.
Oh, you're gonna be nice.
I'll be very, very nice first.
We get nice, Jay. What's up, Buckeye Nation? Florida Cory here, the Ohio State Scarlet N Great podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in as always. Ohio State football with Scarlet N Great on YouTube. Hit subscribe, hit like. Appreciate everything. Free Buckeye content by the fans for the fans. I'm here with my good friend Jay Stevens of the Jay Stevens podcast and the host of Locked On Buckeyes, the Locked On Podcast Network. Jay, how are you doing, my friend?
Florida Cory, I'm doing well, man. Very happy to be back with you again. It's June. It's not really much going on. Recruiting's big, but there's a big old topic about expansion that has stirred a lot of conversation and a lot of debate on Twitter. So I'm kind of curious to have this first conversation that I've had with anyone about this very topic.
Yeah, we had a brief discussion on Twitter. I said, you know what, I'm going to bring my good friend on. We're going to record about this because it's too much fun to talk about. Let's be honest. I mean, no matter what we think about the ins and outs of the college football playoff, it's fun to talk about. It's a great topic. And let's be honest, that's part of why they have it. At least a small part is so people talk about it. So anyway, as you guys may have known, they are talking about, it's a proposal now. It's not final. It's a proposal. They're going to expand the playoffs to 12 teams. Now, there's been mixed reactions on this. I know I have some mixed feelings on it myself. I know, Jay, you have some mixed feelings on it yourself. I don't even know for sure if Jay, we never really talked about this, if you even agree with an expansion at all, but we'll get into that. But I do want to real quick, show you guys what the proposal is. Just real quick. It's going to 12, from 4 teams to 12 teams. The 4 highest ranked conference champions, 1 through 4, will get a first round bye. 5 through 12 will play each other home field, going to the higher ranked team in that first round. This will be reviewed by an 11-member management committee on June 17th through the 18th. If they endorse, then the proposal will then be moved to the Board of Managers for June 22nd. The first round is a 2-week period after the conference championship games. The quarterfinals are January 1st through 2nd. They haven't quite determined the dates yet for the semifinals and championship game, but they won't be doubleheaders is what they're saying, which thank God for that. I don't think anybody in sports or whatever could play 2 football games right in a row. These are some interesting points. I don't think anybody's really mentioning, Jay, well, maybe they are, but I haven't seen it. There's no reseeding is one. They're not going to reseed based on who you beat. If you have an upset, you're still the 12th seed. It is what it is. There's no avoiding rematches. They're not going to seed in order to avoid that. They're not going to care about that, which I think is good. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. You get seeded in a certain spot where you get a rematch, you get a rematch. Mm-hmm. Teams likely to be assigned to their traditional bowls with the priority going to the higher ranked team. So if Ohio State's a higher ranked team, they go to the Rose Bowl, as they are usually traditionally assigned to that bowl. So those are the points I wanted to bring up regarding the college football proposal. If there's any questions asked, put it in the comments. We'll do our best to answer. Jay, what do you think about that proposal just offhand before we get into the nitty-gritty of it?
I'll be nice first, Cory.
Oh, you're going to be nice?
I'll be very, very nice first.
We get nice,
format,
Jay.
Yeah, the format itself, the 12-team format, having the teams getting the bye, having kind of the geographically where games are going to be played, still having some of your bigger bowl games there. I like that. I still like the allure. It may be nostalgic to me because when I was younger, still Big Ten fan, the Rose Bowl meant something. So still having that bowl a part of this whole ordeal, I like that. I do like how they're giving us some type of criteria because one thing we have learned, this idiotic committee does not want to tell us what they want to do and how they're going to get to from point A to point B to point C. So I like that there's criteria that they're giving us. My hope down the road is that they give us a criteria on how they rank these teams. Because if they don't, once again, we're going to be having a conversation, maybe not me and you, but on the shows that we host, a conversation about how the committee, once again, is not giving us the simple things that the NCAA tournament, NCAA for men's basketball, women's basketball, they have a criteria by parts of the year for things that are going to happen. The thing I don't like about the proposal, and I'm glad it's a proposal, there is no reason, to me personally, for there to be a 12-team playoff to define and try to figure out who is a national champion in college football. To me, trying to find a true champion, you don't need 12 teams. It's college football. Any given year, Corey, last year, it was very clear the best two teams, or two of the best teams last year, were Ohio State and Alabama. And when they played each other, it was very, very clear Alabama was a better team. Now, granted, COVID happened. Ohio State didn't get to practice much in between the semifinal game to the national championship. But I think that it was kind of clear that those were the two best teams. Ohio State and Clemson played in the semifinal game. We saw that Clemson was no match. They were overpowered. So I don't think you need 12 teams, but for the format itself, the criteria they're giving us, I like it. I just personally think the 12-team format is too big. I like a lot of football, but to try to figure out who a true national champion is, the exclusivity in college football, we're losing that by going to this format.
That's not an unfair comment. There's some of that I definitely agree with. But, you lead us into our first segment. It is there is a lot more football, and a lot of people are very happy about that, including myself. Selfishly, I ain't gonna lie, I love more football. More college football, the better. And I know you love that too, man. Well, you and I both. But is it maybe too much football? I mean, let's talk about it. Like, now, you brought this point up to me. The FBS plays about 16 games, or FCS, sorry, plays about 16 games, and when they go to the playoffs. I'm counting, if you're not in that first round bye, you could end up playing as many as 17 games, possibly. It's going to be rare, but it's possible. I think that's a lot for the college kids. I know Urban Meyer's decried that quite a bit. I know a lot of college coaches decried that quite a bit. Now, comparing it to the FCS, Jay, is it possible to say that maybe those in the Power 5 programs have more on their plate to deal with than those in the FCS if they're going to play that same length of schedule?
On the surface, you would say yes, because you think a kid at Alabama, a kid at Ohio State, a kid at Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Florida, Iowa State, they're going to have more on their plate than a kid at North Dakota State. But honestly, I don't know. I'm not inside those locker rooms. I don't know. I do know the NCAA says 20 hours a week for both programs as far as coaching and player. They're still going to classes. They're still having to work out. They're still having to study. So I don't know if the workload itself is more at the bigger schools versus the FCS. I personally don't know, because the standards as far as time schedules, they're about the same. Too much football, there's always going to be a conversation of too much football. But when you think about too much football and adding more football games, Corey, college football, the NFL, high school, probably even some lower levels below that, they've been trying to eliminate the big hit, the boom, and the targeting calls and all these other rules to eliminate the receiver going over the middle, hitting the middle linebacker, and having a car crash. So, I get that. You're going to cry for safety. But every single game in the trenches, or every single game that you're playing, there are car crashes every single time. Miniature car crashes. But if you get a center versus a D tackle, a center versus a nose tackle, a blitzing linebacker consistently over and over and over, you're hitting them in the hole in the trenches. That might be more wear and tear than a receiver getting popped over the middle. So if you're going to cry to me for safety, but then add X amount of games more, I think your cry for safety was just on the surface to kind of soften people and lead them for where you're going to lead them right now. Nobody's crying for safety right now, Corey. More football is great. It's a good thing. I like more football. But for what we're talking about now, I think more football in the cry and thinking about the safety part of it, I think that not NCAA, college football as a whole is getting a little backwards, a little confused as far as we want safety. We want more football. Where's the middle ground? They have no idea where it is.
It's a fair point. Yeah, the safety argument is definitely always been a little bit hypocritical in the sense that they like, we want less hard hits, but we want more games. Well, okay. I do think if they're going to have this many playoff games, they're going to have to scale back the regular season just a little bit. I think it's a lot to ask on these kids. I mean, but again, you say they do it the FCS. I mean, there's got to be a reason major college coaches like Urban Meyer and company or he's a pro coach now, but from the college game, decry the idea that a lot of these kids are going to be playing this many games. I mean, even when we went to the 4-team playoff, Urban Meyer was saying, God, this could be 15 games for this kid. I mean, think about this though. It's funny because Ohio State's first national title in the BCS era in 2002, they played 14 games without even a playoff. And that's pretty crazy to think about. It was kind of unthinkable back then, but it happened. So I kind of wonder if, is there ulterior motives to them speaking out on that or not? I don't know, but it's just interesting that I've seen so many of them say like, okay, look, the kids can't handle this kind of weight load, on this. But again, I think it's even when they get to that national title era, national title game. I think even Ryan Day and company are saying like, gosh, my kids are just wear down. They're tired. I mean, they were saying that when they went to play Oregon, even saying the kids are just worn down. They're tired. So yeah, adding another game or two possibly in that. And also on top of that, what does it do for the kid's psyche when they say, okay, you only had to win one game to get the title game now. Now you got to win as many as 3 possibly. So, I mean, you like the idea that you can play for it, but it gets to be like, okay, well, you're really preparing these kids for the pro game now. So last word on that point, we'll move on, Jay.
Yeah, man. The games, playing more football. I like it. I do. I'm not gonna deny it. Like you said, Corey, we like football. We love football. Playing more games, we like it. But at what's the end game? And I've been thinking about that for a while. What is the end game for this aspect or that aspect? I've been thinking about what's the end game for paying players. Not going to do that here, but what's the end game for that? And what is the end game? If this proposal goes through, will it stop in 5 years? Because as we saw with the BCS, that format changed after I think 4 or 5 years. Adding another game now wasn't another game for the teams. It was just one. It was 4 BCS bowl games plus the national championship. And I think that exclusivity of that really made a whole lot of sense. I think with the current climate of the country, as far as inclusion, all that stuff, I think there's a time and place for some of that stuff to happen. Not trying to bring politics into it. I think the culture's infiltrating college football and the idea of inclusion. I think you're going to find themselves, we're going to play more football now, but just you wait 10 years down the road, we're not going to like this format. So we're going to change it down the road once again because we're not satisfied. Not satisfied at all.